Hello there, my name is Christian Verwijs and I'm one of the creators of the Scrum Team Survey. In this short video, I want to show you how to use the Scrum Team Survey to drive continuous improvement in and around Agile or Scrum teams by keeping track of actions in our tool. Now, continuous improvement, sometimes we think of that as like these big seismic changes, but continuous improvement usually involves a lot of small incremental improvements over time. And that also makes sense. As a Scrum Master, Agile coach, team member, product owner, you usually don't have the authority to make big changes. So what you can do instead is make small changes. And if all of you do that together, and if other teams in your organization also do this, then eventually all those small incremental changes together will still be seismic changes. They'll just happen over a longer period of time. That's something we want to encourage with the Scrum Team Survey, and we're really trying to make that as easy as possible because we know how hard this is from our own work as part of Scrum teams. Now, the first step in this process is the team report, which all teams receive when they complete the questionnaire that is available on our platform. The team report that you're seeing here is a demo team, and it's a team that also has done a couple of previous measurements with the questionnaire, so we have some historical data to use as a reference. The process we always invite teams to go through is basically transparency, inspection, adaptation. We always like to ask teams first to just look at the data and the results and to just observe what they see without judging it, without giving their opinion, or without already making sense of why that's important. So in this case, what we're seeing for this team is that effectiveness has been what's mostly the same. It hasn't changed since previously. We do see some small improvements in stakeholder happiness. Team morale is mostly the same. Stakeholder concern has gone up a little bit. Responsiveness, mostly the same. We see team autonomy has gone up a little bit, which is good, nice. And continuous improvement has gone down a little bit, red in many areas though. And we also see that management support has gone up. So what does all that mean to us as a team? That's the next question to ask. In this case, team effectiveness has not improved. So if we're really serious about becoming more effective as a team, maybe we need to do some more work because what we've done since the previous measurement doesn't seem to have really changed much. We can see some things that are going well. Stakeholder concern, management support, team autonomy, these are positive. And that's good because we know also from our research that if you see improvements in these areas, it's likely to see improvements in team effectiveness. However, one big thing that we're also seeing in this team is that continuous improvement is a big obstacle. It's apparently hard for this team to find the time and the safety to improve. In particular, we can see there's quite a lot of conflict. We can see that psychological safety is low and the quality of retrospectives leaves a lot to be desired. So if this team wants to improve and become more effective, it's a very good chance that if you are able to invest in continuous improvement, that you will actually see improvements overall in the model, but also in team effectiveness. So that's the conclusion of the so what step. Now, the next question and the final question is, now what? And the question there is, what do we need to do now that we know this? And again, continuous improvement is a process of small continuous improvements rather than big changes. So there are different ways to identify improvement actions. The first one is to click on the core factor, continuous improvement, and you can actually see some recommendations here already. So what you could do, I'll pick another one. You could host a shared sprint retrospective in the next sprint iteration and invite up to 3 teams. And that's something that will help with shared learning, which is about the degree to which teams are learning together with others in the organization. Now you can add this as an action, and I'll show you how that works in a moment. But you can also click on Discover How to Improve to get more tips. And in this case, continuous improvement. If you click on How to Improve, you can see a lot of do-it-yourself workshops that are workshops that you can facilitate yourself to dive deep into this. And you also see more of these quick actions. But that's one way to go about this, continuous improvement. You can also zoom into one of the lower factors. For example, team conflict is really an issue in this team, and so is psychological safety. So you can also click on psychological safety and see, okay, what are the improvement actions that are possible there? And because we know how hard it is to improve sometimes and find inspiration about what you can do, we've worked with the community to identify potential first action steps. And these are the actions that you see here. They're just an idea, just to give you inspiration. You can literally do this thing, or you can just use it as a starting point for your own ideas, but it's just to get your brain started, also for the team members. And again, there are a couple of those here. And you can do the same for all the other factors. Now, ultimately, what you want to do in the Scrum Team Survey is identify concrete improvements. So maybe we're going to do this one thing that's over here. So we can click on Add as an action. And then we can say, okay, who owns the action, which basically means who is going to keep track of if it's done or not. Let's just say in this case that there is a particular team member who is responsible for it. You can also add a URL to Jira or some external tool where you keep track of this also. And let's say we want to get it done before we want to do this within a couple of weeks. And now we're saving it. So that's one action that we created. Let's add another one. Let's add one for team conflict. Let's see, what do we have? Organize a game night or afternoon for your team somewhere during the next sprint. That seems like a nice idea, something we can do. We have authority to do and the autonomy to do. So let's add that action. As a product owner, I will take care of this and we'll do it before the end of, well, next week's maybe a bit short, before the 21st. And we're saving that too. So we've now created a couple of actions, and you can actually see also here that the number has increased. So there's one open action, and for continuous improvement, there are 2 open actions. If we click on actions, we can actually see all those actions, and these are all of them. So you can see in this case, all 12 improvement actions that this team has identified. But if you just want to see the one that you just created, you can also click on this one, and then you just see organize a game night. Or if you just want to see the ones for continuous improvement, you can click on this one. We'll always show the ones with the red border. That's the one that's due, or the ones that are critical. We'll always show those to you, so you won't lose track of them. And there also is one for team effectiveness. That's a completed one. But this one is already done. And we have one for stakeholders, the responsiveness, the experience that stakeholders have of the responsiveness of this team, which is something that we still need to do. It's a very old item, by the way, so we really need to step up our game in this area. In any case, if you go to actions, clear the filter so that we see all of the actions, you can see which improvement actions this team has identified. And when you identify an action, you can also say or make a prediction about which areas of the model you would expect improvements in. So for example, the one that we just set up, host a shared sprint retrospective and invite up to 3 teams, that would be a great idea. We think that that will help with continuous improvement. You can also change that. If you think, well, maybe not continuous improvement, but I think it's going to help with shared learning in particular, then you can pick that one. And you can also change all the other things that are already in here. Now, obviously, we picked one of the existing ideas that we suggest. You can also create your own actions, which I highly recommend you do, because the ideas that we give are just starting points. Maybe there is this issue about team conflict in this team. Maybe we want to open conversation about conflict navigation. Maybe we just want to talk as a team about how we actually deal with conflict, just openly. And that's something that the Scrum Master will do. Obviously, where do we expect that to see improvements? Well, lack of team conflict, we hope that that score will go up. And psychological safety, the Scrum Master owns the action. What kind of action is it? I think that that is an initiate a conversation. When should it be done? Which is basically a deadline for ourselves. Let's say, let's do this before next week. So we're now adding that also. And we can also find it again. So if we want to say, let's, for example, filter on the ones that are conversations, then we can find the action again. There are two ways in which two statuses basically for actions. They're open. In this case, it's open. You can also see some that are that have a red border. That means that the due date has passed. We can see in this case that the age is 0 days, so it's not a very old improvement action. The Scrum Master is taking responsibility for it. It's about initiating a conversation, and this is the due date. Now, if it's done, we can just simply check the box, and it will no longer show up in the list of open actions. We can also mark an item as impeded, and I'll do that now. And we'll go back to Insights. And what you see now is that there are actually two fires here, fire icons, because we have one action that's relevant for both of these. This means that we have an impediment. This means that there is apparently an improvement action that we're stuck at as a team. We don't know how to do this. We don't know where to start. We need help, basically. And this could be help from management. Could also be help from an external agile coach or maybe another team or some other person, but in any case, it's an impediment. We also have some other impediments, quite a few actually. And again, you can click on the impediments to see which specific impediment that is. Maybe this is no longer an impediment. And actually, we've actually managed to resolve it. So in this case, you can actually keep track of which actions need attention. And that's relevant for something else that I'll show you in a moment. Ultimately, the whole point of this is that you want to improve continuously by making small tweaks and adjustments, and then a few months later, track if those improvements actually help improving the results. So in this particular case, we've identified quite a few actions that are targeted at continuous improvement. Let's also clean up the ones for the other areas, because this one, let's just remove it. Something we decided wasn't relevant after all. There is also an action here, but that's already completed, so that's okay. And we have this one about stakeholders. Well, actually, we already did that one, so let's mark that as completed. So basically, the model that we have now has a few open actions on continuous improvement, on shared learning, team conflict, and psychological safety. We can also filter the actions a little bit differently to get a better overview of the open actions. I'm going to now only show the open ones, which makes it easier to see, okay, these are the two areas that we're really focusing on. Now, what we can do is next time when we take the questionnaire, we can actually, again, look at this model and we can see if the open actions actually improve the results, because that's what we're hoping for. If we're continuously improving in a good way, we would hope to see improvements in particularly psychological safety, team conflict, and also in continuous improvement. And since the model expects there to be this effect on other things, we also would expect some improvement maybe in stakeholder concern, there may be some improvement in responsiveness, and maybe even our team effectiveness will go up. But that's basically what we're trying to do here with the improvement actions. Now, the impediments are interesting for another reason, because in this case, what we can see is that there are two impediments. This is the team report that you're seeing as a team. But if you have a subscription, you also have a team dashboard where you can keep track of other teams. And I'll go there right now to show you what that looks like. Because if we go to the team dashboard, we see here 4 teams. And we also see that there are 3 help requests from teams. And they're also marked with the icons. And what we can see here is that the one that we created just a moment ago about open conversation about conflict navigation that we marked as impeded as a team is also shown here. And the color is actually from that. You can actually see also here Liberator's demo team, which is the team that I was just in the team report of. So apparently this team needs help. And the nice thing about the team dashboard is that if you have people like agile coaches or other Scrum Masters or other teams, they can see that the Liberator's demo team needs help. And this can be an opportunity to offer help, or for someone in a management position to go to a team and say, I see you need help. How can I be of service to you? How can I help you as a team be effective at conflict navigation? And again, you can click on this icon to see the other impeded actions. You can also see all the actions that are defined by all the teams. You can actually see all of them here. It's quite a lot. So this is a way to keep track of continuous improvement actions that are happening across teams. And you can also export it to CSV if you want to analyze it further in some tool. But what's most interesting about the insights model in the team dashboard is that you can also see patterns here. And again, what we can do is say, let's just pick only the open actions. And then it will give us a sense of where are most of the teams making improvements right now. And what we can clearly see is that most of the teams in this subscription are focused on continuous improvement. And why is that helpful? It's useful because it gives you as coaches, managers, other teams, opportunities to pull your resources together. Because apparently continuous improvement is something that many teams are struggling with in this organization. So maybe you can work together. You can organize workshops together, maybe get some training on conflict navigation, bring in someone from outside who can help with this. This is all possible because you're now able to see the patterns. And you can keep track of this over time to see if things are improving. And ultimately, that's why we're creating the Scrum Team Survey, to make it easier for you to improve. And we know how hard it is, so that's why we're giving you a lot of ideas, suggestions, and are based on our own experience and those of others and that of scientific research. We hope it helps. Keep on improving. Bye-bye.